I have an exam. We're gonna be practicing. Give me the outline. Give me the outline. Practicing this. This is the problem. This is do you have enough ideas? What you need is compression structure, easy recall under pressure. So instead of memorizing phrases, memorize topic, 3 main points, one example idea, conclusion idea. Think of them as mental checkpoints. Topic 1: how does ChatGPT help or hurt our cognitive abilities? Core idea: ChatGPT can improve learning or weaken thinking depending on how it is used. ChatGPT helps people access information quickly. It has benefits and risks. Helps learning an idea, explains concepts at a user level, gives perspectives. Example: explain like on fire, and help thinking sometimes. Challenge ideas, give perspectives, can create intellectual discussions. Philosophy discussions, it can help people think from different perspectives. Risk of over-reliance. People may start thinking deeply. Cheat and less cognitive effort, misinformation. Hallucinations, copy-pasting essays. Compression sentence, over-reliance on AI may weaken independent thinking. Conclusion, depends on how people use it. ChatGPT should support thinking, not replace it. Topic 2: what are the most important values parents should teach the children? Core idea: parents shape behavior and thinking through values. Responsibility, empathy, critical thinking. Responsibility, accountability, independent decisions. Consequences matter. Crime without accountability. Responsibility teaches people to accept consequences. Empathy, understanding others, emotional awareness, kindness, helping behavior, helping homeless people. Critical thinking, question information analysis before believing. Independent thinking, verify online information. Critical thinking helps children. Helps children make better decisions. Main idea: parents teach values through daily behavior. Children learn values through observation and guidance. Society to be peaceful, what conditions must be met? Peace requires fairness, awareness, and stability. Introduction: peace, harmony plus safety, not only absence of war. Infinite creates anger, discrimination leads to instability, protest, rebellion, compression sentence, justice reduces conflict and social instability. Education and critical thinking helps people understand problems, increase awareness, reduces misinformation, understanding causes of war, conflict. Education helps people solve problems peacefully. Economic stability, main idea: poverty increases crime, frustration, opportunities create stability. Example: stealing due to poverty, compression sentence. Economic opportunities reduce crime and instability. Conclusion, main idea: peace requires collective effort. Compression sentence: without these conditions, long-term peace is difficult. You know, memorize every sentence, instant memorize topic 3 points, compression sentence for each point, and improvise around them naturally. Example: mental recall for topic 3. Introduction: peace, harmony plus safety, fairness, conflict awareness, peaceful solutions, economic ability, concentration. Peace requires effort alone is enough to rebuild a mini presentation. Let's try this. What? Really, bruh? You really gotta do this dirty ass, bro? Like the tricks on me, man. I really cannot recall, bro. Fucking hell, I didn't know this bullshit, man. Let's do it anyways. But I can't give feedback, that's the problem. You cannot record an audio on an audio. This is really annoying, bro. Damn. I don't care though, right? Welcome everyone to my presentation in which I address the question, how does ChatGPT help or hurt our cognitive abilities? Let's start by talking about how it helps us. First, it can help us understand topics better by adapting to the user's level of knowledge and understanding capability. It can, for example, it can explain a topic to you like a 5-year-old, or it can also adjust and explain to you like a teacher. Second, it helps improve thinking abilities sometimes. Through intellectual friction, it can challenge ideas, give various perspectives that one might have never thought of. For example, in philosophical discussions, it can address a topic from various perspectives, give the philosophical positions of various philosophers, which can help increase knowledge and deepen understanding. Third, risks of over reliance. If people over rely on it on everything, for example, asking it for copying and pasting essays, solving problems without processing, and also using it for decision making. Over time, this can lead to cognitive decline and stagnation due to this lack of friction. There is also the possibility of misinformation, as there is this process called hallucinations, in which ChatGPT may come up will present false information confidently. I think that's it. No need to. As an example, there are studies who have shown that people who use ChatGPT for essays have less brain connectivity than people who use the internet and those who rely on themselves. In conclusion, ChatGPT is a double-edged sword. Whether it's beneficial or harmful depends on how one uses it. People who use it for cognitive development through friction and interaction, and also to improve reasoning, might have positive results in the long run. Whereas people who over rely on it for almost everything might stagnate in cognitive development. Thank you for listening. Let's move to topic 2. I didn't even memorize the structure. Dang. Hello and welcome to my presentation, in which I will be answering the question: what are the most important values parents should teach their children? I think the are responsibility and critical thinking. Parents play a key role in shaping or teaching these values. Let's address each one individually. First, we have responsibility. What does responsibility mean? Responsibility is being accountable for one's actions. It's also about making independent decisions and not blaming others for one's failure. Responsibility is essential in societal contexts to maintain peace. For example, criminals should be held accountable for their actions. Because if not, there is a higher chance that they will persist in doing these actions. Moving on to empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is about having feelings for others and relating to them emotionally. Being empathetic requires good awareness and sometimes emotional regulation. For example, an empathetic person in a societal context might help homeless people to fulfill their basic needs. If they come across them. Last but not least, we have critical thinking. What is critical thinking? Critical thinking is about examining information, questioning assumptions, and verifying it before considering accepting it. For example, if one is good at this skill of critical thinking, they might not blindly accept online information. But look at trusted sources to verify it first before accepting it. One could argue that responsibility is the most important value, but without critical thinking, people might struggle to make independent decisions. In conclusion, I think these are the most important values parents should teach their children. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Welcome to my presentation in which I'll be answering the question, for our society to be peaceful, what conditions must be met? Or I should start this way. For society to be peaceful, what conditions must be met? Today, I will be answering this question. Peace is not only the absence of war, it's also about living in harmony with others and minimizing conflict. For a society to be peaceful, there must be good awareness and a desire for change. Collective desire for change. I think there are necessary conditions for a society to be peaceful, which are justice, equality, education, critical thinking, and economic stability, opportunities. Starting with the first one, justice and equality. The lack of justice could lead to discrimination. And this discrimination can get citizens to rebel and protest, which in return affects societal instability. Same goes for equality. Laws aim to treat everyone equally, but favoritism can lead to this sense of unfairness, which increases the likelihood of rebellion and therefore instability. This is, on another hand, we have other conditions such as education and critical thinking. Now, these two go hand in hand because education is a tool to improve critical thinking. Critical thinking is necessary as it leads to awareness of the causes of the lack of peace. And how to maintain peace. And this is essential for change, for societal change. For example, in the context of wars, someone who has this critical thinking skill might look for ways to stop the war or end the war or solve the problems without violence or without violence and by minimizing casualties. Moving on to the point, economic stability and opportunities. In societies with lack of opportunities, people are more likely to live for a better life. Because often people struggle to find decent jobs to maintain their stability. And to live in good conditions, good enough conditions. There is also a higher risk of crime. As for example, people who struggle to fulfill their basic needs might steal other people's properties, food, etc. Without etc. Might steal other people's properties, food too. Just to survive and to live better. Peace requires collective efforts, but in most cases, change starts from individuals. I think this, in conclusion, or to summarize, I think these conditions are necessary. Responsibility, justice, equality, education, critical thinking, economic stabilities, and opportunities. Establishing and maintaining peace long term becomes more difficult. Let's retry, bro. Let's retry. Hello everyone and welcome Or how does ChatGPT help or hurt our cognitive abilities? In this presentation, I will be answering this question. Let's start by how ChatGPT helps us. First, ChatGPT helps access information quickly. It can generate information almost instantly. And it can also process information very quickly. Which can help save time. Second, let's skip a point. It can also help learning by explaining concepts clearly, adapting to the user's level, and giving various perspectives. It can explain to you like you are a 5-year-old or like you are a teacher. This adaptability makes it a great tool for learning. Third, it can help thinking sometimes. It can challenge ideas, question assumptions, improve reasoning, and give various perspectives, which makes it ideal for people seeking intellectual friction. For example, in philosophical discussions, it can give various perspectives and philosophical positions of various philosophers, which can help increase knowledge and deepen understanding. Fourth, this is concerning the positives. There are also negatives, as it can also harm our cognitive ability if used incorrectly. On one hand, there are risks of over-reliance. If one over-relies on ChatGPT, copies and pastes essays without examining and processing the information, use it to solve problems, or decision making, or totally relies on it on decision making. This might lead to cognitive stagnation, as the people is not actively making a cognitive effort to achieve their goals. This is on one hand. On another hand, there is also a risk of misinformation and hallucinations. ChatGPT can sometimes present information with a confident tone, even though the information could be highly inaccurate. For example, there are studies, or to demonstrate this, to demonstrate the risks of this over-reliance, there are studies suggesting that people who use ChatGPT to write essays have less brain connectivity than those who use the internet or those who rely on themselves. In conclusion, ChatGPT is a double-edged sword. Whether it is beneficial or harmful depends on how one uses it. If it's used to improve critical thinking, to increase knowledge, and enhance analytical ability, then it's most likely good for one's cognition. Whereas if it's over relied upon in almost everything, then there is a high risk of cognitive stagnation. Thank you for listening. What are the most important values parents should teach their children? In this presentation, I will be addressing this question. Parents play a key role in shaping children's behavior through values. I think the most important values parents should teach their children are responsibility, empathy, and critical thinking. Starting with the first one. Responsibility. What is responsibility? Responsibility is being held accountable. It's about being held accountable. Or is not only about being held accountable, but also making independent decisions. And not blaming others for one's own failures. For example, or responsibility in a societal level, responsibility helps maintain stability. For example, if criminals are not held accountable for their actions, then they might persist in doing them despite the harm they are causing. Moving on to empathy. What does empathy mean? Empathy is about having feelings for other people and relating to them emotionally. For example, an empathetic person might help a homeless person upon seeing them. By sparing them a change, I don't know if this is the right expression, or help them fulfill their basic needs. Last but not least, critical thinking. What is critical thinking? Critical thinking is about examining information, questioning assumptions, and verifying it well before considering accepting it. For example, someone who exerts this ability of critical thinking might verify online information before accepting it, as not doing so could lead to blindly believing it, which could result in misinformation. In conclusion, or to summarize, I think the most important values parents should teach their children are responsibility, empathy, and critical thinking. Or before this sentence, one could argue that responsibility is the most important value, but without critical thinking, children would struggle to make independent decisions. In conclusion, parents play a key role in shaping, in teaching the children these values through the process of children observation imitation and learning. I think responsibility, empathy, and critical thinking are the most important values. That was a bit messed up, but alright, topic 3. Welcome everyone to my presentation in which I will address the question, for our society to be peaceful, what conditions must be met? Peace is not only the absence of war, it's also about living in harmony with others and minimizing conflict. For society to be peaceful, there must be awareness and a desire for change. I think there are some necessary conditions for a society to be peaceful, which include justice, equality, education, critical thinking, economic stability, and opportunities. Starting with the first one, justice and equality. In a society where there is a lack of justice, there is a higher likelihood of discrimination, and this discrimination can lead to unfairness. This internal sense of injustice can make people rebel and protest, which can lead to societal instability. Moving on to education and critical thinking. These two go hand in hand, as education is a great tool to improve critical thinking. Critical thinking helps people be aware of the causes, consequences of conflict, and how to maintain stability. For example, understanding the causes of a war might lead citizens to take steps to eliminate those causes and look for better solutions. Last but not least, another condition is economic stability and opportunities. In a society where there is a lack of opportunities, people are more to live better lives. And there is also a high risk of crime. Because in a society where a lot of people struggle to fulfill their basic needs. For example, there is a higher risk, or there is a higher chance for people to steal other people's food properties just in conclusion, or to summarize, peace requires collective effort. But this collective effort usually starts from individuals. I think justice, equality, education, critical thinking, economic stability, and opportunities are the most important conditions for peace. Without these conditions, establishing and maintaining peace long term becomes more difficult. Thank you for listening. Let's try again. Welcome everyone to my presentation in which I answer the topic: how does ChatGPT help or hurt our cognitive abilities? ChatGPT is a tool that can help, that can improve learning or weaken thinking depending on how it is used. ChatGPT can help people access information more quickly. It has a lot of benefits and risks. Starting with the benefits. First, it helps learning. ChatGPT can explain concepts and adapt to the user's level of accordingly to the user's level of knowledge and understanding. You can also give various perspectives as a specific topic, ones which one might have never heard of. For example, it can explain a concept to you like you are a 5-year-old, or explain it to you like you are a teacher. This adaptability makes it great for learning or understanding. It can help improve thinking sometimes. It can challenge ideas. It can give various perspectives about a particular topic, which can lead to more intellectual friction, which is necessary for intellectual growth. For example, in philosophical discussions, it can give various perspectives or philosophical positions of various philosophers. Giving one new to increase their or showing new angles about a topic, which can increase one's knowledge, deepen understanding. So, moving on to the risks. There are many risks of over-reliance. Or moving on to the risks. Or moving on to the negatives, there are risks of over-reliance. Or moving on to the negatives, there are info who solve problems with it, or who make decisions with it without processing, without understanding. Risk cognitive stagnation. On another hand, there are people who use ChatGPT to cheat on exams, which can lead to obtaining higher marks. Success without competence might lead to societal problems. Last but not least, there is a risk of misinformation, hallucinations. Sometimes ChatGPT can generate false information confidently. For example, or to demonstrate this risks of over-reliance, there is a study suggesting that people who use ChatGPT to write essays have less have less brain activity than those who use the internet or who rely on themselves. In conclusion, ChatGPT is a double-edged sword. Whether it's beneficial or harmful depends on how one uses it. If one uses ChatGPT to support their thinking, one should use ChatGPT to support their thinking, not replace it. Topic 2. What are the most important values parents should teach their children? Today I will be addressing this question. Parents play a key role in shaping children's behavior and thinking through values. I think the most important values parents should teach their children include responsibility, empathy, and critical thinking. Starting with responsibility. What is responsibility? Responsibility is being held accountable. It's not only about being held accountable, it's also about making independent decisions, and not blaming others for one's own mistakes and failures. At the societal level, for example, without responsibility, there is a higher risk of chaos. For example, there's a higher risk of chaos. Criminals who are not held responsible for their actions might persist in doing them, despite the harm that they cause. Moving on to empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is about having feelings for other people and relating to them emotionally. Being empathetic is about being considerate and aware of other people's situation. For example, an empathetic person stumbling upon a homeless person might help them by sparing them a change or fulfilling their basic needs by giving them food, or by fulfilling their basic needs by either sparing them some change or giving them foods. Last but not least, critical thinking. What is critical thinking? Critical thinking is about examining information well, questioning assumptions behind it, and verifying it before accepting it. Someone who is good at critical thinking may not blindly trust online information, but look at trusted sources well enough before considering to accept it. One could argue that responsibility is the most important value, but without critical thinking, one would struggle to make independent decisions. To summarize, I think responsibility, empathy, and critical thinking are the most important values parents should teach their children. Without and parents help teach these values through help teach their children these values through observation, through children observation, imitation, and learning. Hello everyone, and welcome to my presentation in which I will be answering the question, for a society to be peaceful, what conditions must be met? Peace is not only the absence of war, it's also about living in harmony. Peace is not only the absence of war, it's also about living in harmony with others and minimizing conflict. For a society to be peaceful, there must be awareness and a desire for change. Good awareness, desire for change. I think the most important conditions for a society to be peaceful include justice and equality, education, critical thinking, economic stability, and opportunities. Starting with the first one. Justice and equality. Without justice, there is a higher risk of discrimination. This discrimination can lead to the sense of unfairness, which in return may lead to rebellion and protests, which impact societal instability. Same goes for equality. Laws aim to treat everyone equally. But if there is favoritism, then rebellion and protests are more likely. Moving on to education and critical thinking. These two go hand in hand. Education is a great tool to improve critical thinking. Critical thinking is about examining information carefully, questioning assumptions, and verifying information well before accepting it. In the case of in society, when it comes to peace, it's about knowing why the causes behind, being aware of the causes behind conflicts, how to avoid them, and how to and how to maintain peace. For example, in the case of war, someone who's good at critical thinking might look for the causes of this war and try to solve the conflicts peacefully without reaching for violence and without causing any without reaching for violence and without causing much casualties. Last but not least, another condition is economic stability and opportunities. In a society where there is a lack of opportunities, there is a higher chance for people to live and look for a better life. There is also a higher risk of crime. For example, people who struggle to fulfill their basic needs or live in situations they label as uncomfortable might steal other people's properties or food just so they can live the life they want. I think justice, equality, education, critical thinking, economic stability, and opportunities are the most important conditions for peace. Without these conditions, establishing and maintaining peace long term becomes more difficult. Alright, let's try again. Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation in which I answer the question, how does ChatGPT help or hurt our cognitive abilities? ChatGPT is a great tool that can improve learning or weaken it, depending on how it's used. ChatGPT helps access information quickly. It has benefits, but also risks. Starting with the benefits. First, it helps learning. It can explain concepts clearly, adapt to the user's level. It can explain, like, for example, and give various perspectives. Adapt to the user's level. For example, it can explain the concept like you are a 5-year-old, or explain it to you like you are a teacher. Moving on to the second point, it can help thinking sometimes. ChatGPT can questions assumptions, improve reasoning, and give various perspectives, which can lead to more intellectual friction and therefore more intellectual growth. For example, in philosophical discussions, it can give various philosophical positions. It can give philosophical positions of various philosophers, which one might have never heard of. This can increase knowledge and deepen understanding. Last but not moving on to the negatives. There are risks of over-reliance. Using over-relying ChatGPT to write essays might lead to cognitive stagnation. There are studies suggesting that people who write essays have less brain connectivity than those who use the internet or those who who rely on themselves. This is from one hand. From another hand, if ChatGPT is used to cheat, then this can harm society in a negative way. In this sense, that would allow people who are not competent to succeed. Last but not least, there is a risk of misinformation. Through this process called hallucinations, ChatGPT can sometimes present false information confidently. Not examining the information might lead to blindly accepting it. For example, in contexts, in topics which it doesn't have enough information about, or specific information about, like characters in a movie, it can generate characters that never existed in the movie, or talk about events that never happened. In conclusion, ChatGPT is a double-edged sword. Whether it's beneficial or harmful depends on how one uses it. ChatGPT should support thinking, not replace it. Thank you for listening. What are the most important values parents teach their children? Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation in which I will be addressing the question, what are the most important values parents should teach their children? Parents play a key role in shaping who we become. Children's behavior and thinking through values. I think the most important values parents should teach their children include responsibility, empathy, and critical thinking. Starting with the first one, what is responsibility? What is responsibility? Responsibility is not only about being held accountable for one's actions, it's also about making independent decisions and not blaming others for one's own failures. Responsibility requires good reflection, good self-reflection, and awareness. In a societal or in a societal setting, responsibility is essential. For example, if criminals are not held responsible for their crimes, then they might persist in doing them, which can in return harm societal stability. Moving on to empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is about having feelings for other people and relating to them emotionally. Empathy requires good awareness. For example, if one is empathetic, then they might help homeless people upon stumbling across them. By sparing them a change or giving them some food. Last but not least, critical thinking. What is critical thinking? Critical thinking is about examining information and analyzing it before believing it. For example, one who exerts this ability of critical thinking, for example, one who is good at critical thinking might verify online information from trusted sources before considering to accept it, before accepting it. As a way to avoid misinformation. One could argue that responsibility is the most important value, but without critical thinking, people might struggle to make independent decisions. In conclusion, I think, or to summarize, I think education and I think that responsibility, empathy, and critical thinking are the most important values parents should teach their children. Parents should teach your children. They teach these through children observation, imitation, and learning. Children can learn these values, observation, and guidance. For a society to be peaceful, what conditions must be met? Today I will be answering this question. Peace is not only the absence of war, it's also about living in harmony with others and minimizing conflicts. For the society to be peaceful, there must be good awareness and willingness for change. I think the most important conditions, I think there are necessary conditions for society to be peaceful, such as just equality, education, critical thinking, economic stability and opportunity. Starting with the first one, justice and equality. In a society where there is a lack of justice, there is people are more likely to be discriminated. This discrimination can lead to a sense of unfairness, which in return might make people rebel and protest. Which could harm societal stability. Same goes for equality. Laws aim to treat everyone equally, but favoritism can lead to protest and rebellion. Moving on to education and critical thinking. These two go hand in hand. Education is a great tool to improve critical thinking. Critical thinking is about examining the situation, asking why there is a lack of in the case of conflict. Critical thinking is about questioning why there is societal instability, how one can improve the situation. Critical thinking requires good, and how one can improve the situation. Critical thinking requires good awareness. In the case of war, for example, one who's good at critical thinking might ask as to why there are wars, as to why there is a war, trying to find the causes and then try to find the causes and try to solve the conflicts without recurring to violence. And while minimizing casualties, without recurring to violence. Last but not least, another condition is economic stability and opportunities. In a society where there is a lack of opportunities, people are more likely to leave for a better life. There is also a higher risk of crime. People might steal other people's properties or food just to live a comfortable life and fulfill their basic needs. This can lead to societal instability. Peace requires collective effort, though usually it starts from the individual. Do this from individuals. I think justice, equality, education, critical thinking, economic stability, and opportunities are the most important conditions for peace. Without these conditions, establishing and maintaining peace long term becomes more difficult. Thank you for listening. Alright, that's it. I'm done. I may try later, but this is some practice, right? I have an exam coming up. I'm really stressed. I didn't really prepare well, but you get the idea. I'm practicing a bit. Alright, see y'all next time.